We are live from America's home for racing at the beautiful Charlotte Motor Speedway, a track engulfed with history, as we know, hosted the FIA Karting North American Championship back in its heyday, but this weekend hosting the opening round in 2026 of the Stars Championship Series here for the Queen City Gambit. As always, my name is Caleb Vieska, and joining me here this morning for the Perico Pit Box, Kyle Cuthbertson, all the way to screen left to my right, Cameron Reed, racer here for a couple of years already, Cameron, that you've raced here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for a couple of consecutive years. But again, my colleagues here, I was going to say fellows, but that being said, though, we're here. Another year starting Stars. This weekend feels a little different, I think, than most others. Starting another championship here on the year, Kyle. We'll start with you. Cameron?
Yeah, no doubt. When I raced here the past couple of years and earlier this year, it was similar weather to this, super cold, and we even got a little bit of rain in the last couple of years. So the heat was definitely unique to the last 2 days, but I think the drivers have a new challenge here today with the large weather change as they go into these longer sessions and into the final. It's probably what they prefer.
Yeah, probably. And as you guys can see on the screen, my hair is all messed up. My hard work this morning, Kyle, as you know, coming undone here quickly. And again, there's a lot of dust. It's very dusty here. We can feel it in our eyes. Kyle, you have contacts in, and you can feel it as well. But very, very dusty. And that, I think, is also going to change the surface of the racetrack. We talked about yesterday, Kyle. You made a good point. It was hot. And again, we saw track temperatures that were higher than ever before this year, 145 degrees Fahrenheit. And all drivers were reporting struggles of, being overstuffed, flat sliding the track, greasing over. Completely different ballgame, and it's a complete reset here today, it almost feels like, Kyle.
Previous years when it's kind of back to normal.
Yeah, and I talked around the pits a little bit yesterday to a few different drivers and even mechanics, and it seemed like the common consensus was towards the end of the day, everybody was fighting for grip. And I think a big key player in that is this dust and pollen that we are seeing in the mornings. As you like, the many team owners mentioned, it's on their tents, it's on their karts. We see it on our table here on our laptops. And so you have to assume that's embedded in the track, and it has kind of solidified overnight and almost made the track a little bit dirty again for these morning sessions.
And you're kind of watching the action here as well for those of you at home, watching it all kind of go on the racetrack as well. This is the Micro Swift class that is out there. And again, for these young drivers, we talked about the smaller chassis and how a lot of them could go too wide, and drivers holding it around the outside throughout a variety of different corners. And again, you see it visibly on the racetrack here. Turn number 10 was one of the ones specifically that we talked a lot about yesterday, and that was one of the places on the racetrack where a lot of drivers were making moves, right? You saw them 2 wide, 3 wide for some. That never worked out, but again, for a lot of them, this track, you see the groove just starting to form, starting to expand a little bit as well, and that's all what we're going to see later on today, and we'll continue to watch. But these youngsters here, they have been phenomenal in the way that they race. This class here, the Micro Swifts, 3 wide coming to the line yesterday. Cameron and Kyle, and I would say this was probably my favorite moment of yesterday. This was my favorite moment of the Saturday, seeing 3 young kids fighting for a win. Jack Kitowski, we talked about Schiavo, we talked about Competiello coming to the line, and they absolutely delivered. They showed, I think, maybe some of the other classes how it was to race cleanly, fairly, and as well competitively out there. Their session's coming to a close here, but it's been great, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be back here for the opening round, opening weekend of the Stars Championship Series. But again, have to look back at last year, right? A lot of champions, a lot of different movers. In this class specifically, it was Dutch Westbrook who took the win, and he's now up into the Swift Stars class. And you got to talk a little bit about the pro classes as well. It's a complete different look this year than what we had last year. And Kyle, we'll start with you on just a look back into the past.
Rookies yesterday. There are 6 rookies in the field, and 3 of them are starting within the first 2 rows. Max Christia won a moto yesterday. In the Pro Stars category, it's right back to the same thing we've been talking about for it feels like the last 3 or 4 years. It's Mateus Morgado versus AJ Myers, and Jay Irwin and Adrian Reddington kind of breathing down their necks, waiting to pounce for whatever happens there. I mean, it's definitely all gonna boil and pop, if you will, later today.
Cameron?
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that the drivers that were quick last year, although they have moved up, are quick again this year. We talk about Dutch Westbrook, we talk about Brody Stoffel. Those 2 drivers have moved up to Swift Stars, but they're still running at the front of the field. We talked a little bit about Isaac Malquit, who was on pole here in junior last year, and he's up front again this year. So these same drivers who are accustomed to this track and who have been quick in the past, we see are at the front again.
Yeah, and again, you guys mentioned 2 names, Brody Stoffel, Max Christia. Cool story coming out of the paddock here today, and it's actually both of their sisters. And we talk about how karting is a family environment and how the whole family is involved. So Julia Stoffel and Laura Christia, they call themselves the Go-Kart Sisters, and they go around the paddock selling bracelets. They're raising money for rescue dogs, the Hero Dog Rescue, and that's super cool. I'm wearing one. Cameron's wearing one, as you guys can see here on screen. So it's super cool, and that to me was one of the coolest stories coming out of yesterday, right? How, when you come to a new place, you come to Stars, it's always felt like a family environment. We're here on the Sunday. We talked about Sundays are for donuts, forcing the shifter drivers to come out here and do donuts. Christian Marsh has always been, they posted a press release a couple years ago that you have to come out here and do it. And they actually have donuts down here on the grid for those of you here in the paddock. Come by and grab some. They are homemade. There's a company here who is trackside over by the vendors row down there with official series up here, as well as a couple of other food options for you. And the donuts are down here on grid for those of you. We had some already before we went live this morning, but we talk about it, right? This being a family environment and being back this year, it feels great to start the last one of the big 3, if you will, to get this year kicked off.
Great family atmosphere where they're giving away donuts at the beginning of grid and the warm-up. Because to be honest, who wants to wake up at 8 a.m. for a warm-up? At least they can do is greet you with donuts, right? But when we get down to business, when we get down to the pro show, things are serious, and and they bring this very professional atmosphere. I mean, they have so many partners to help bring this together. I mean, yesterday we had OG Racing here doing like a scavenger hunt, and we had them come on the live stream and do that. Just fun things to make the event more enjoyable. There's merch. Apex Apparel's up there with Brooke Kaufman selling merch. She's doing stuff on the spot. The whole atmosphere feels very professional, but also very family friendly.
Yeah, correct. Cameron, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who doesn't have much experience with the Stars series, kind of coming in with a new perspective, it's been super awesome to watch and see how everybody interacts. All of the officials are coming up to the drivers, talking to them, interacting with them. It's not a standoffish type of environment. They're extremely welcoming and want to have everybody involved and hear the feedback. I hear them asking about, what do you guys think of, how's the weekend going? Do you like this format? Do you like this, that? And so I think that's a great way to run a series, to actually care about the feedback that you're getting from your customers and ultimately build a series that we as drivers want to race in.
And going off that topic of the family environment, yesterday Juan Jose Paramo was picking up trash down on the grid, and the Christian Marsh and the Stars officials saw that, and they're like, you know what, we're going to pay for your entry for the King of the Castle later on in the year. And it shows you, right, they give back and they care and they like to see this family environment. There's more to come to you guys at home from the Petticoat Pit Box here this morning. We talked about sponsors. We're going to hear from one of them that's involved with Mazda Motorsports after the break.
Hey guys, I'm Chris G. I'm Kart Chaser's driver fitness coach, and today I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to strengthen your shoulders for more endurance and better stability in the kart. Here we go. Okay, so exercise number 1 is the front rope pull-through cable raises. Okay, now This is the upright cable row. What you are doing here is you're picking a straight bar, as you see, and we're working the side areas of our shoulders, the medial. Exercise number 3, the dumbbell shrugs. As you guys can tell, I like to pause at the top before releasing. It's great for your strength, for that wheel stability. It's great for those shoulders and that upper back area. Chris G coaching, race-ready training that carries into real life. That's what we do here. See you on the next one.
Champions aren't just born on the kart track. At SimShop, we deliver professional-grade simulators with the best performance-to-price ratio in the industry. Founded by racers who understand what you need, our SimMagic and Moza equipment is powerful enough for the pros, yet affordable for everyone. With unmatched customer support and a thriving community, we're your racing partner. Visit simshop.com today.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Hey guys, another Kart Chaser Driver Fitness episode with me, Chris G. Today, I'm gonna show you how to protect those ribs in the seat. We're doing core. Exercise number 1 is the bench leg raise. Controlled all the way down, full range of motion. Make sure you pick up that tailbone off the pad. Coming down, controlling. Great for the lower abdomen area and obliques. Floor slider mountain climbers, exercise number 2. Exercise number 3, the plate-loaded decline bench sit-up. I'll see you guys on the next episode of Chris G Coaching, race-ready training that carries into real life. That's what we do.
Hi, I'm Jackson with Alpha Race Hub. Alpha is an all-in-one motorsports software solution that can solve all the software problems you need for your track, facility, or series. Alpha can cover all your software bases, from online registration, digital e-waivers, a proprietary timing and scoring software, incident management, automated points tabulation, tire and barcode scanning. We even have our own mobile timing app and rental cart activity management software. If you're looking to consolidate your motorsports software solutions, reach out to us at alphatiming.co.uk.
Well, welcome back to the Perico Pit Box here this morning. And again, we talked about a lot about our sponsors before we hit the break. And one of them here this week and yesterday they had the car out here is Mazda Motorsports. Last year they were the sponsor of the Pro Show. This year they are the sponsor overall here at the Stars Championship Series. That being said, a lot of Mazda faces. Cameron, you have been at the shootout yourself. You have been in the IMSA paddock yourself a whole lot, Kyle. But again, when we talk about that and when we talk about the shootout coming up, Stephen McAleer is going to be one of the judges here this year. He's actually here this weekend running his team. He was set to be joining us, and he's busy, slammed back with everything he's got going on with his team. Nate Cicero's here as well. Jeremy Fletcher's around the paddock. Nate Cicero was the Rookie of the Year back in 2023. Jeremy Fletcher, the reigning champion in Mazda MX-5. And you talk about the success that Macumbi McAleer has had in the past couple of years as well. They won the championship as well back in 2024 with Gresham Wagner, friend of the program. Justin Ataconis now racing for him. We saw him racing karting for a long time, friend of the program as well, and he's now racing and looking to put on a championship fight this year in 2026. But that being said, we talk a lot about the partners here this weekend, Mazda Motorsports. We've seen how much talent has come out of Mazda. Talk about Connor Zilish, who was racing here actually at Cup Karts North America not too long ago. Crazy to think here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, one of his last karting races. But Kyle, when you talk about a format like Mazda and the opportunity that Stars is giving drivers to go out to the shootout. Cameron, you've had the opportunity to go, but Kyle, we'll start with you being in the IMSA paddock. How much does that do to young drivers here this week and aspiring to be race car drivers in the future?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, you mentioned Connor Zilic. I mean, that was really the first place that he got to, I mean, besides Trans Am, he got to move into the MX-5 Cup. And, you know, on an IMSA weekend, everybody is watching that series. That is the series I think everybody looks forward to watching besides the IMSA series. They are the next thing up, really, that everyone's watching. So it's a great place to kind of have karting style of racing, because the cars are kind of the perfect speed to pack race and put on a show and showcase talent, because that's, you know, that's where you'll see a lot of people know Jeremy Fletcher now, Nate Cicero, all these names, because they're driving at the Weston Workman. They're all racing at the front in MX-5 Cup on an IMSA weekend, live for free on YouTube for everyone to watch. So it just creates this great platform for karters to move up into a good spot. And I mean, Cameron, to your point, I mean, the kind of progression that they have into, you know, Specs MX-5 and doing the shootout the way they do it, again, it's a great launching point for karters to get into cars.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I think we have to almost thank our counterparts in Connor Zilic, in Weston Workman, in Jeremy Fletcher for almost creating this opportunity for karting drivers, because when we all first started, to try to make a career in cars, all at the age of 13, 14, we kind of all did it around the same time. Obviously, they have been far more successful. But it was a little bit unheard for these karting drivers to come in through Spec Miata, through Spec MX-5, and ultimately end up with some sort of pro career in the IMSA series. But thanks to those drivers, Mazda has now seen the value in what karting brings for these drivers, and it is involved with so much opportunity. Josh Smith was here yesterday with the Spec MX-5 car, and that's the biggest thing, right, is we saw a lot of these Stars drivers last year be nominated and ultimately end up at this Spec MX-5 shootout. So having a two-part program that allows for a complete stepping stone to give karters a shot at a pro career is really rewarding and exciting for drivers.
I think the most exciting is that you're actually building your own Spec MX-5 car with your dad, Josh Reed, back at home in New Orleans. Tell us about that, because, again, you're building a pathway as well for your drivers over at Reed Motorsports to kind of move up through the ranks. And tell me why that has kind of been something that yourself and your dad have decided to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously I've been to the shootout the last 2 years on the Cup side of things, and unfortunately came up just a little bit short. But through that conversation with Jonathan Applegate and Josh Smith and the whole Mazda Motorsports team, after starting the karting team last year, I talked to them, said, hey, I want to create a path for these drivers to be able to end up at the shootout, right? Because getting here is one thing, but getting there is the hardest part, right? Like being one of those 12 drivers to be noticed and invited and then ultimately end up there is the most difficult thing. And I was there witnessing some of those Spec MX-5 drivers, the karting pedigree, I guess you could say, and they do struggle a little bit with the gearbox, and we don't have as much time with it, right? The 3 pedals versus some of our Spec Miata drivers we kind of see. And so through the help of Mazda Motorsports and some other local sponsors, we're building a Spec MX-5 car to have our Karts to Cars program, but then also help with some of those nominated drivers get in the seat before they actually go to the shootout, learn how to drive with the clutch, learn how to drive H-pattern, get a little bit comfortable with what body roll is and suspension, so that they are more trained or a little bit more comfortable when it's time to go to the shootout, and they have a little bit better shot.
And again, just give an idea to viewers at home as well. What do they look for in the shootout with yourself having experience going out there?
The shootout is one of the most difficult experiences I've ever been to, but it's so rewarding, and it's because there's so much on the line, right? So it starts with a handful of nominees. Then you go through a written essay. You have to create a video, submit your race resume, all of the above. And through that, they select 12 finalists. And for me, it was 3 females and 9 males. You then go to the shootout. You have 3 cars, 4 drivers per car. You get 3 15-minute sessions to compete. Try your best. You're working with a variety of drivers coaches. One of those is Stephen McAleer. We've seen Workman, Zilic, Fletcher. They've all been there over the past helping the drivers get that last little bit. So you're competing on the track against a stopwatch, but then off the track is equally, if not more important, how you carry yourself, how you interact with the Mazda Motorsport group, the FLIS group, and different team owners. And then your social media is really huge too. How you present yourself and how you handle challenges is the biggest thing, right? Because you are representing Mazda as a whole if you were to win the scholarship. So a lot of stuff goes into who they ultimately decide to win. At the end of the day, they all get into a room and they kind of debate the different team owners, everybody involved with the program and the series, and they ultimately choose 3 winners from that.
Kyle?
You know, Cameron, just without getting into too much detail or however much detail you want, you know, what is kind of the process of getting into Spec MX-5? Because as far as I'm aware, you know, the cars are pretty simple, right? Like, it's pretty much an MX-5 that you modify into a race car, which is kind of cool in modern day, just taking a plain car you'd see on the street and turning it into a race car.
Yeah, it's been a super cool process to kind of learn as we're doing it in our garage, just my dad and I. But yeah, the process the route that we chose to take was a full street car. We bought one that was non-running, and we put the cage in ourselves. MiataCage.com sells the cage. They'll ship it right to your house with very detailed instructions of how to install it. And then you just order all your parts from MazdaMotorsports.com. They make it super simple. They give you a discount. And yeah, you just start installing suspension. You have to run now the Roush built Mazda MX-5 or Spec MX-5 motor, so everybody's on an equal motor platform now. You run the stock transmission. You can put a little bit of a modified differential in there, but not much you can do to the car overall. You're pretty much just running it how it comes.
So you're saying it's kind of like a modified go-kart in a way. Like, instead of axles, you're putting in suspension, right? And that's kind of cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty much. You can adjust spring rate, but we're all running the same Ebach and Penske combination, and so everything's pretty much spec.
Given the name, right? Spec MX-5, Spec MX-5, and then Spec MX-5 Cup. That being said, the juniors are out there on the racetrack, and a couple of them that are here this weekend have been doing double duty, both in the KA junior class and a couple of others as well in the OKNJ class. So let's take a look back to yesterday here and debrief as well a little bit of what happened. OKNJ, that class, again, we talked about a lot of the young drivers moving up, a lot of the new faces moving up. You know, the likes of Maxwell Macho was very, very impressive yesterday, putting himself up at the forefront of that field. And we talk about it, right? Being a year of the rookies, Macho with the Paralympic team, taking heat race number 2 with that steering wheel that was, you know, suboptimal, if you will. It was moving around. Cameron, you were able to speak with him a little bit yesterday, but seeing those rookies move up into OKNJ as we take a look back here at the highlights, it was, I think, great racing to watch. A couple of mechanical mishaps maybe for some, but Travis Pettit, Nico Kwiatkowski in the first one, a lot like what we've seen out of, you know, the junior classes this year. We're up at the front. Kwiatkowski was ultimately able to run away, but Pettit, you know, didn't get away without a fight. He was fighting with Macho. We talked about how strong he was. Liam Nachawati, he's been overseas. He's, again, elbows out and racing. But when it was all said and done, Nico Kwiatkowski was able to win. Moto number 2 was kicked off, and it was, again, same starting positions for everybody. They were all side by side, 3 wide. This was one of the biggest moments that we saw. William Veeder had contact. Marco Samet could never really get going, didn't even get started. And Travis Pettit, we talked about the changing gearing of how important it was going to be here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, especially in the OKN and the OKNJ package. We saw a little bit of change for them, helped them out a lot. But again, back and forth passes, back and forth movement there. They were going, and again, look at the racing here, Kyle. Tell us a little about this, because the amount of racing, the level of passing that we saw was at an all-time high.
Yeah, it seems in the single speed categories, this track just is so wide. We'll go over a bit more in a track layout later, but the passing is just at a premium here. The track is so wide, and there's just the perfect amount of 90-degree, you know, corners that just give a lot of space on entry.
Yeah, I would have to follow up with that, right? Like, it's a very high-speed track. There's not really a corner that's too demanding or really binding down our speed here, and so you see just how important it is to make those clean passes if you want to catch the kart in front of you. So carrying that speed is ultimately how Nico was able to drive away.
Yeah, and again, Maxwell Macho just able to kind of get himself ahead of the field yesterday in Moto 2, Nico Kwiatkowski in Moto 1, and we've talked a lot about the track and everything that it's done. That was the first part, the first third of the Pro Show. Now, into OKN. That class, it started, I would say, not ideal, suboptimal for a couple of drivers. Diego Ramos, the Brazilian, was able to get a win here last year on the racetrack. Unfortunately, after post-race penalties, couldn't keep it. That's a look back to the past. Paulie Massimino, a winner here, proven winner as well in 2026, now in 125cc, emerging as one of those faces that we talked about. Which American driver is going to be at the forefront of water-cooled single-speed racing this year with the retirement of Austin Garrison and with the step back from Ryan Norberg? I think Paulie Massimino has been just that. But they had contact at the start of the first moto, and that, I think, changed the tide of what we're expecting to see. And as you guys are about to watch, it was all about the rookies. You guys talked a lot about Max Christio. We talked about John Antonino. We talked about Eric Doan. The list goes on and on and on of these young drivers that are now emerging at the forefront of this field. And that was exactly what happened yesterday in that OKN Moto 1. This right here, as you guys are looking on your screen, into turn number 1. Paulie washes out a little bit wide. It was very dirty on the bottom of the racetrack. Again, the grip is all on the outside, and he washes into to Diego. Contact in between the two. A little bit of a bent front end in between them, but the rookies, they absolutely shined in OKN Stars, Kyle.
Yeah, I think the best way to describe OKN Stars yesterday from the get-go is drama. As Paulie Massimino is a guy who you expect up front, you expect to be competing for the win, especially in a place like Charlotte. Bent steering rod out, and your eyes didn't deceive you. That was Marin Kremers in P3 at the start of Moto 1, and he unfortunately didn't have the pace. But as you see here on screen, there's Diego Ramos and Blake Nash giving us a show, while Max Christia kind of just took off with Eric Doan, the rookies. Scary moment here by Blake Nash. Heck of a save, though. Still finished the race sideways in perfect, West Coast Blake Nash style. But as we go into Moto 2, it was a little bit less chaotic. I think yesterday in both motos, we talked about how hot it was. I think tire saving in Moto 2 especially for both classes really played a factor, because it kind of just seemed, I heard Xander yesterday in the early motos kind of compare it to being like a longer practice session, right? Because the motos aren't really going to, where you start isn't going to be as important, right? So those two motos for the tires is really going to play to advantage, Caleb.
Yeah, correct. Look, I spoke a lot to Diego Ramos over the weekend. He said you only have 3 practice sessions from the get-go. You have to get out here, you have to qualify, and you have to be fast as soon as you roll off the hauler. And again, he said, after speaking to him a little bit last night, didn't feel like he was fast, but again, he's looking up at the biggest jumbotron in karting here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and he was, again, faster than everybody else. So that was great to see out of Diego Ramos, finally getting a result at the end of the day to come out here and take a win when it was all said and done. But a class that I think provided a little bit of drama. As much as we say, Shifter was absolutely amazing to watch. We saw the passes, we see the high speeds, 80 mile an hour down that back straightaway, and they are on the absolute limit from the start to the end. And again, the first one, I think more so in Moto 1, kept us on the edge of our seats. I don't know about you guys. I had to close my eyes a little bit watching Mateus Morgado come down the racetrack to, again, make his presence known to AJ Myers from the get-go here. But look, as we talk about it, the shifter class was, I think, great to watch. And again, we talk a lot about how hard it is maybe to race single speed here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, but it was great to watch, and I personally enjoyed it. I think this place especially has always raced quite well.
Yeah, I mean, it's provided great racing. And look, I think yesterday we were kind of actually taken away from a bit of action with Morgado having that airbox failure, because in Moto 2, that just kind of gave him the tire advantage to walk away to an 11-second lead. And there, of course, there was drama in the back. But I think today, we saw in Moto 1 early on, I think we got a glimpse of what we'll see today with both of them on fresh tires. That, look, AJ Myers, Mateus Morgado in the front row, where have you heard that story before? Immediately from the get-go, they're racing each other. And again, remember, this is fresh tires, and that's what you're going to see in the final. So I think right here, this is a glimpse of what we're going to see today. Immediately, Mateus Morgado knew that he had to pass AJ Myers, and I thought that was interesting as well. So early in the race of both Moto 1 and 2, just immediately thinking offense. But you see, Mateus Morgado just kind of kept falling back. We weren't sure what was happening. Airbox failure. Caleb, you know a bit more about that because you went and asked.
Correct. So there's an insert that goes from the airbox into the motor. That snapped in half, which was bringing unfiltered air right into the motor, which unfortunately caused it to blow at the end of it, which, again, you saw that seize, a spin, nothing he could do. He could barely even move the kart off the racetrack, did the best he could. But this from the start, fresher tires. Again, these motos are 19 laps long, and they went for quite some time here, Cameron.
Yeah, and another big name that we see here actively battling is Adrian Rinnaden. And at the end of yesterday, with that flat tire, he kind of faded away, and we didn't really get to note that much. And so today, new tires, maybe starting a little bit back in the field, I think we're going to see some new life out of him.
And how about this Jay Irwin, AJ Myers contact? And again, we talk about it, right? The PSO karting barrel arts, AJ Myers. It's again something that we've talked about for years since we started racing and since we started broadcasting. My apologies. Turn number 8. That didn't work out, unfortunately. Cooper Becklin having some good results, moving through the field. And I will say, AJ Myers fighting with Vincenzo Saracino. What a drive out of Vincenzo yesterday. We talked about the last 3 years almost for Vincenzo. It was riddled with bad luck. You know, the champion back in 2022, that was a TB kart, then to Maranello, then to Croc Promotion with Presti Racing. And then he comes to a proven race-winning program with PSO Karting Barrel Art, and he's up at the front. Look, lastly here, as this one kind of comes to a close, thanks to our friends over at GoPro, this is the brand new GoPro Hero 13, and thanks to our partners, we have a never-before-seen view at that move out of Jay Irwin and AJ Myers and how their race ended. And it was great to ride shotgun, as we have been with a variety of different drivers throughout the year. And again, when we talk about that a little bit, we'll get that clip ready for you guys. But that being said, here's a look at it. Riding shotgun with the brand new GoPro Hero 13, side by side into the corner here, and contact. AJ was able to keep going, but that destroyed the front end. And you see it there, turn number 8. AJ's going to the corner. Jay's down the inside. It's a hard one to call. Again, AJ was assessed a penalty, and it was overturned at the end. But again, we'll let you guys decide.
Yeah, I mean, so the GoPro gives an interesting view, I thought, because from our camera and our vantage point, it does look like Jay is completely alongside him. But if we went back to the GoPro, and if you pause it right when Jay enters the frame, it kind of gives you a good perspective of kind of, you know, how much space there was between AJ and Irwin and how kind of shallow Irwin kind of entered the corner. Because if you go off of AJ and Irwin's interviews after the race and what they thought, you know, it's kind of confusing when you watch the footage, but it really does seem like Irwin was, you know, pretty far inside, entering the corner pretty, you know, shallow, and AJ was really just taking the corner as he normally would, and, you know, probably could have given more space. See right here, Irwin, there's a bit of space, just a bit of space between them, and I think at this point, for AJ to give more space or make a different decision, it's probably too late. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's important to note also that turn 8 is an extremely high-speed corner. We're at the end of the straightaway. Here at the apex, our drivers are most likely already back getting on the gas, and so the go-kart's naturally going to start to float a little bit and have a little bit of slide, and I think that's partially where some of that contact is we are going so fast through that corner that the go-kart's naturally going to have to wash itself out, and ultimately a little bit of contact there.
It's a hard one to call. Look, in today, I think more than any days, or I would say yesterday more than any days, I am happy that I do not work in race control. Very happy, because these are hard decisions, right? These are decisions that could change the path of a race weekend for a lot of these drivers. For AJ, it wasn't going to do much of that because he was going to be on the pole regardless of result, finishing in second, had a big enough gap back to third. But that being said, we'll let you guys decide. And a big thank you to our friends over at GoPro for providing us and helping us ride shotgun with a variety of different drivers here this year. This has been the Pettico Pit Box. We still have more set to come your way on the other side of this break.
Come on, man.
You know, I'm really starting to like this go-karting thing.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh, can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayCara.com. At ShopPayCara.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want, like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need, all at ShopPayCara.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Karting isn't just speed. It's control, precision, freedom. At Atlanta Motorsport Park, Kart Freedom isn't just a team. It's where drivers are made.
Welcome to the future of kart race preparation. Kart Sim Pro North America. Featuring laser-scanned North American kart circuits and precision-tuned kart physics developed using real telemetry, dyno and tyre data, Kart Sim Pro North America delivers the most advanced and realistic kart simulation experience available today. Whether you're training for race day, refining your lines, or shaving tenths off your personal best, Kart Sim Pro gives you pro-level insight without leaving your home. Trusted by world champions, coaches, and karting enthusiasts alike, this is where virtual practice translates into real-world performance. Experience the thrill, the challenge, and the edge. Kart Sim Pro North America. Use code CHASER20 to get 20% off today.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Bedico Pit Box, and as well with our morning coverage of everything going on here at the opening round of the Stars Championship Series, the Queen City Gambit, presented by Mazda Motorsports. On the racetrack now, the K8 seniors here, Kyle, and looking back to yesterday, it's been 2 days of great racing action. Qualifying, Isaac Malquit. Heat 1, Isaac Malquit. Heat 2, Isaac Malquit. Pre-final, Isaac Malquit. What a way to make your presence known in only your second national KA race. To come out here and be as competitive as he's been has been something special to watch here this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Isaac, he's made about 6 so far senior starts, in the road tax category in 125cc. Would have loved to have seen him in OKN this weekend, but in KA, he's just absolutely dominant. I believe yesterday Xander mentioned the Masters BTA performance, and that's what we've seen so far this week from Isaac. I mean, the performance he's putting on as a rookie, and look, I keep the stat sheets in 125. I've been tracking all the rookies this year. We're planning on doing a actual Kart Chaser Rookie Award based on performance this year rather than a fan vote, and Isaac Malquit's right there. We have a great crop of rookies this year It's been very competitive. Isaac Malquit, so far, unfortunately in my stats, the KA performance isn't quite going to stand, but yeah, it's been so impressive.
Yeah, well, looks like our very own Cameron Reed again not joining us here at the moment because she's down on grid, standing by with a couple of drivers. Cameron?
We are down on grid with Braden Zervis starting from the pole position today for the Group B pre-final. Obviously have to make the top 10 there to transfer into the main. Kind of talk to me a little bit about how your weekend's been so far.
I mean, this is my first time at this track. We've been struggling with finding pace a lot. We didn't qualify the best. We were in a bad group. In the heats, the first heat we were moving up. Second heat, we were up to like 9th at one point, and then we got turned into, spun around, going into turn 3, fell all the way back, made up 2 positions. So if we were up probably 2 more positions in the heat, we would probably made the final instantly. But we just gotta pull away in the B main or the B pre-final.
It sounds like pace is pretty decent then. How are you feeling going into the B main?
I'm feeling good. I think the track, when it's colder, it's a lot grippier. Just going off of warm-ups of yesterday and the Friday practice. I think once this track, once it gets hot, it just gets really greasy and you can't really get any grip.
Yeah, that's been the common consensus we've heard throughout the weekend. Well, good luck for the rest of the day today, and hopefully we see you in that main.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, great to hear there from Braden Zerves. Again, just looking to get himself through this field. He's a driver who has a lot of pace, a lot of speed. As Kyle Reed joins me here. Again, a lot of wind here this weekend. Stars' own Christian Marsh having to hold our TV up here so we can watch all the action going on the racetrack. So yeah, very big thank you to Christian. And again, it's great to be able to ask these things, right? And them to be able to give us a helping hand when we need it. And that's just going back to the family environment here at the Stars Championship Series, Kyle. But again, a lot of names in that B pre-final that are looking to work their way through. Braden Zerv is one of them. And again, there's a good variety of different drivers that are out there on the racetrack as well. That midfield battle has been one to watch. It's been hectic. The battle up at the front has been a little bit quieter. And you don't really expect to see that whenever you talk about KA Senior Racing out here at a track like this, really, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, with 55 entries, the KA Senior class has been absolutely phenomenal to watch. That many karts on track at the same time. And the BP final is going to be the same way every LCQ usually goes. It's going to be chaos. We're going to have the bubble up on the ticker to let you know who's going to be where. We're going to be watching that bubble, and it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one to watch. And as well, good to see some of the young drivers yesterday. Slade Harrell, just seeing him pass by just behind our show here. He is going to be racing today. Nothing going on tomorrow besides going home. But he is going to be racing. Heard from Jake Manalio, he was all right. So those were the 2 incidents that we saw in that Swift Stars pre-final. So he's going to be good to go later on today. And again, there's more stars that are getting set to go out here in a little bit. In a couple of moments for the KA Stars A group. And again, this morning, why you're seeing this little bit of split going on is because they reverted back to the orders that they had throughout the practice sessions, right? So they were split by number, by sticker. It was A and B, and now they're just right back to that pretty much here, racing and going out there. And as well, these fields are mixed, right? You don't see everybody until you get to the pre-final here, Kyle. And that was one of the big topics when we talked about last week being at Trackhouse Motorplex, where yes, the groups were mixed up, but they only saw half of the field for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, when you get the whole field together, you're racing against guys, at different points in the day, and that'll really, change up who's fast, who's not fast. But in the KA Senior field, obviously, the constant has been Isaac Malquit at the front. I mean, if I had to give a pick, we're giving the picks for the pros later, but right now, if I was going to give a pick for KA Stars, it'd definitely be Malquit.
Well, you guys got a little preview there. Cameron Reed is standing by with the newly announced Porsche Carrera Cup over in the Germany area, up in Europe. Henry Wheeler is standing by with her.
Henry, obviously able to announce some big news recently, go and race for the Porsche Carrera Cup, but still here at the go-kart track this weekend in a KA. Tell me how your weekend's been so far.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I had some bad luck in qualifying, didn't really do great. The heats have just been all right. I found some more pace at the end of the day yesterday. Didn't really show it, but I'm feeling pretty good about today. Should be a little better. Found some things overnight too, so hopefully we'll be a little better. And then still racing over in Europe and fly out tomorrow to go back over there.
Oh, super busy. That's super exciting. Wearing the Mazda suit as well. He was at the Spec MX-5 Cup shootout just recently over the last year or so. Kind of talk to us about how important Mazda has been in providing these opportunities for drivers.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a great program. I was in the shootout a few years ago, and I had 2 opportunities to try and do it. And I think it's a really good stepping stone. It got me more involved in cars, and I actually figured out the path I wanted to go. So it was good. It was a good place to start, and I'm really glad they were here and able to help support us.
Well, good luck for the rest of the weekend, and hopefully you're up at the front.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much there, Cameron. And you see a lot of this, right? A lot of different drivers that are out here racing that were in those shootouts just a couple of years ago, right? Henry Wheeler was one of those. We talked about Annie Rule. Our very own Alex Searle was at the shootout. I think that was more years ago than that was a long time ago for Alex Searle. But no, that being said, yeah, we have seen a lot of different drivers go out there and take part. And I think KA Senior specifically is one of the classes that they're looking at, that they are wanting to target this year, as well as some of the OKNJ classes, looking to give opportunity to some of those drivers looking to work their way up the pipeline of racing. And when you talk about it as well, the KE Seniors class specifically, I think this year more than others, we're seeing a lot of drivers move up from the LO206 over at CKNA. And again, it was a top 3 for CKNA graduates and drivers who are still actively racing here and are racing at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in that series. So that was cool to see. For me personally, you talk about the different pathways, different pipelines, there's levels of competition everywhere that are at an all-time high. So it shows you, I think, first of all, that our sport is definitely working here and continuing to grow, continuing to improve, and I think that's been one of the most gratifying things to see here this weekend, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the launching pad from 206 and kind of using KA to jump from 4-cycle to 2-stroke, and perfect example of that was Jared Clark here last year, getting a win. And you see Christopher McKeith in here. Sam Tutwiler is here.
Look at this, though, Kyle. Doesn't this look absolutely delicious here? Some donuts down on grid. We talked about it a little bit of the Stars Championship Series and everything they've been doing. Come by the grid before. Well, a lot of them already came through for their warm-up sessions, but come back. There's still some more.
They are good.
They are
very good.
They are delicious. So don't forget to come by and grab some. Again, we saw them last year as well at Trackhouse Motorplex whenever they came by at the end of the championship. So that's great to see. Some donuts, they were delicious. We had a little bit this morning before we went on the air. Don't want chocolate and all the mess.
I was actually wondering that because it is windy.
And there's no napkins over there. A lot of drivers went out with chocolate fingers.
So I wonder if any drivers are out there with chocolate fingers. That might be what we've been watching all morning. You never know.
Well, there you go.
I think the bigger thing right now, though, currently as we're sitting here, we're kind of getting rained on a little bit.
It's sprinkling. So that was exactly why Stephen McAleer couldn't join us, because this is again very, very light, which is able to keep our equipment safe and able to keep us mostly dry. I will say it is a lot colder than when we walked out of the hotel this morning. It was about 66. That is now down to 56. So that's a 10-degree swing in temperature here to what we have seen since the morning. And I feel it on my hands. It's a lot colder than what it was earlier today as we continue to work our way through these warm-up sessions. But that being said, a lot colder out here on the track. And is weather going to be a factor? Is this going to play a role? I'll sit here and spoil it for you. Yes, it is. It's going to be a lot different than what it was yesterday. Tire temperature going to be different. The track's going to be different. These engines are going to be driving a lot faster than what they were yesterday, Kyle.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, listen, we'd have to go ask Carson, but the weather, it's starting to rain, it's starting to sprinkle on and off. We thought we'd be dry, and now my computer's pretty wet right now.
I will say this earlier. It was clear. The radar, there was nothing on it. And again, wind gusts up to 30 mile an hour, which is going to be a headwind onto the backstretch. So we talk about draft that we didn't see become a factor yesterday. That could be something different. It feels like 44 degrees. That's fact. It's coming here first. And again, there might be, I'm not going to say it because I hate to say it, but there might be some weather coming in about 20 to 30 minutes time. Luckily, we'll be out of here. We'll be back in our warm production trailer and getting ready to see some great racing action. That being said here, the last little bit of what we got going on. OKNJ getting set to go out, and I know we're going to go out there and try our best to speak with some of the drivers while we continue to battle everything that's going on here. But this is that look at the second group here in KA Senior. Again, we're going off the splits from the practice sessions. And Kyle, one of the biggest things that I saw yesterday, right, for a lot of drivers going out there, walking the paddock, speaking to a lot of them, Isaac Malquit, I think, has done more than he's realized for a young driver. We talked about how fast he was, and we focus in here a little bit on Alan Isambard, speaking to him, seeing how deflated he was in that post-race interview at the end of that first heat, and seeing the mental toll that it's taken for a lot of these drivers that are rookie is going out there, being as dominant as he is, and it's leaving drivers kind of questioning setup, going one way to another, going in different extremes. And as well, they tune themselves out of the window, and something that myself and Xander talked a lot about yesterday. But how much, you know, the mental factor of it and having that mental fortitude when you are on the back foot looking for a little more becomes a factor here when you're looking for that last little bit.
Well, I mean, through the heat racing, that's kind of the mindset you have to have. Now, the question I would pose to you and ask kind of the audience is, going into a final day, the race is a lot longer, and Isambard and everyone else will be right there with Isaac, who they've now seen the pace that Isaac's had. They're going to have an opportunity at the start at a minimum to be able to kind of get in there and try and shuffle him back and get him to stop him from pulling away. And that's, I think, probably going to be the game plan. So the big question in KA is going to be, did Isaac Malquit kind of show his hand too early?
I don't know. The weather is a lot different, and we're not really gonna know maybe until we get this one going. You're looking at the timing pylon there on the left-hand side of your screen, right? And it's Alan Isambard who's up at the top. This track is gonna be a little different here. The rain picking up just a bit, nothing major, but it's a lot more than what it was yesterday. And the question is, Isaac Malquit versus the field. Can anybody stop Little Sizzle in today's main event? That's a question that we want to ask you guys at home. What do you guys think? Let us know as well as you guys are watching on here in the morning show. That's a question. The $1 million question this morning is that there's a $1 million question in shifter as well when you talk about AJ Myers versus the field. We'll touch on that a little bit later on in the day. But this morning, the pace that maybe wasn't there for Alan Isambard seems to be there to get this one kicked off here this morning. But as this one goes on, James is in second, Rodriguez to Wheeler, Abruzzi, Clark, Beck, Rosende, Workman, McKeithen, and you see how different this second group is kind of going out there. And the fastest lap of 43.047, a little bit different than what we saw yesterday. But, you know, as we continue, there's still more getting set to come your way for a lot of drivers that already have been out there on the racetrack. One of them is getting ready to speak to our very own Cameron Reed, who's going to be joining us here a little bit later when we do our pick'em for who we think is going to win the main event. But we'll send it on down to Cameron, who's standing by with some of our KA Senior drivers. Cameron?
We talked to Braden, who's starting that B main. Connor, you're just a little bit further back, starting in the 8th position. Have to make the top 10 there to transfer into the main. Kind of talk me through your struggles this weekend.
It just started off in qualifying, just having bad track position, stuff like that, getting hung up on my fast lap. And then heat races, 2 really bad starts, just not having the track position to get back up there. But the race pace is good. We got a lot of passing, so I think he's in there easy.
Yeah, so feeling pretty confident going into this B main. Obviously, you do have a little bit of cushion behind you. Were you able to figure out anything this morning, or obviously with these big weather changes coming in, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, we definitely tried a different gear, still able to get out the corners really good, get down the straights really nicely, make a lot of passes, so feeling good for that.
Well, good luck in that B main.
Thank you.
And again, great to hear from Connor Corsi there, one of the drivers that is going to be in the B main here later on today. So 10 of them, that's it. That's all we have. Only 10 of them are going to qualify and make it in to the main event to join the rest of them. Look, the pro show is getting set to go out. The rain is coming down and picking up just that little bit. It will be good. It's passing through here as we speak. Quick commercial break. When we return, it's time to make our picks and talk all about the pro show here at the Stars Championship Series. We'll be right back.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go. Come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico? Non-GMO? Gluten-free? Kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and zero sugar? Pericazo! Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
Hey guys, I'm Chris G. I'm Kart Chaser's driver fitness coach, and today I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to strengthen your shoulders for more endurance and better stability in the kart. Here we go. Okay, so exercise number 1 is the front rope pull-through cable raises. Okay, now this is the upright cable row. What you are doing here is you're picking a straight bar, as you see, and we're working the side areas of our shoulders, the medial. Exercise number 3, the dumbbell shrugs. As you guys can tell, I like to pause at the top before releasing. It's great for your strength, for that wheel stability. It's great for those shoulders and that upper back area. Chris G coaching, race-ready training that carries into real life. That's what we do here. See you on the next one.
Champions aren't just born on the kart track. At SimShop, we deliver professional-grade simulators with the best performance-to-price ratio in the industry. Founded by racers who understand what you need, our SimMagic and Moza equipment is powerful enough for the pros, yet affordable for everyone. With unmatched customer support and a thriving community, we're your racing partner. Visit simshop.com today.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Hey guys.
Your computer's off. Well, welcome back to the Perico Pit Box here from a very cold and windy Queen City Gambit, and this has just kind of transpired throughout the last 10 to 15 minutes that we've been out here, and the worst of us is actually just over us right now. But again, we talked about a lot about we've talked a lot about the pro classes. The cold's already messing with me here, Kyle, as we get this one kicked off. We talked a lot about the pro classes. We talked about the youngsters in OKNJ. We debriefed their race earlier on today. But again, one of our very own, Cameron Reed, is getting ready to speak to another driver who we weren't expecting to see out here, Kyle, at the start of this weekend. Marian Kremers is standing by, and he's racing on the Carblos powered Maranello here this weekend. He's standing by with Cameron.
Marian, new package. Obviously not the best conditions here. We're struggling a little bit, y'all, but we're making it through. Kind of talk to me about your weekend a little bit so far. It's been a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah, it was always going to be hard. I mean, 3 practice sessions of 8 minutes to learn a new go-kart, a new engine package, and a new track. It's always going to be difficult, but we're working through it. Every session we're getting a little bit closer to the top, so we're heading in the right direction. we wanted to try something for this morning. We're going to go out with new tires and setup change again, but these conditions are not really making it easy for us. So yeah, we're going to make the most of it, do our best, and see where we end up.
Do you think that the colder weather today for this main will play into your favor, or is it going to be a struggle as well?
I think actually plays against us. I've been struggling for a little bit of grip this week, and these colder conditions and a little bit of sprinkles are going to make it even harder, but we're trying to stay positive, we're trying to do our best, and that's exactly what we're going to do for this afternoon, and hopefully it stays dry, or it actually properly rains, because I like the rain as well, but yeah, we'll see where we end up.
Oh, good luck.
Thank you.
And again, whoa, this is a big off for William Veeder, and that just shows you the conditions are treacherous out there on the racetrack. And surprisingly enough, I would expect to see maybe more of the OKN Pro drivers heading out there on the track. And looking here just behind our screen, there isn't many that are getting set to go out. Look, I see Davin Roberts is on his way. The MPG boys as well are going to go out, but there's not many that have opted to kind of go out there and take to the racetrack here this weekend. That being said, though, going on the point of Marian, look, he made a very good point. This middle ground, Kyle, it's always very hard to manage. It's very hard to kind of tiptoe your way around something like this because, again, it's almost like an intermediate rain that's just dampening the racetrack, but you want it to go one way or another. If this one does go, I think, fully wet, which I doubt is going to happen, but if that does happen, Marian Kremers, when you talk about his stint and his spell in the shifter package with Tony Kart specifically, we know it was a package that was maybe a little bit underpowered in the last couple of years. But you look at the good results that he had, the couple of podiums, Champions of the Future, I believe, in the preview towards the latter half of the year, qualified on the pole in very monsoon conditions over in Europe. The same at a WSK promotion race, another one of the podiums where it was very wet to start off the year. And we know how good he is in those rainy conditions. So if that does happen, he could be a favorite playing on into later today. But these conditions, they're hard for everybody. Everybody's about to go out there and tiptoe their way around exactly how these OKNJs are doing. But the rain, again, is looking very threatening today. And we'll actually go back down a grid here, our very own Cameron. With now, if you will, first year in OKN, second year in the senior ranks, Davin Roberts. Cameron?
Yeah, with Davin, he just mentioned, I don't know where summer went. It was hot today. It's freezing now. Starting P8 here in the main, kind of talk me through your weekend so far.
It sucked in the first heat with Paulie and Diego coming together and losing all the spots, going back to last, having to work my way up back into the top 10. Fortunately, I was able to salvage top 10 from it. And then the second heat, I don't really know what happened. All of a sudden, the kart setup just went away, and I wasn't feeling comfortable out there. So, rolling up from P8, and hopefully we can make things work.
What do you think about the OKN package? How fun is it to drive?
It's honestly one of my favorite to drive. I feel like my driving style fits it and suits it. I enjoy it the most. Definitely one I enjoy coming to. It's here at Stars.
Well, there you guys have it. Davin Roberts rolling off P8 later today.
Thank you, Cameron. Good to hear from Davin Roberts. We talked about his move, and last year it was K Senior for Davin out here at the Stars Championship Series. This year, going into the OKN package with Ryan Perry Motorsports. And again, we talk about one of the most impressive, if you will, drivers that moved up last year. And one of the press conferences that we had, it was Joe Turney, it was Austin Garrison, and then Davin Roberts. And you guys have had fun with it on the social media side, Kyle, over at the Media Day in Houston at the start of the year. But there's more drivers down on the grid. Cameron, what do you got for us?
Down here with Blake Nash, sporting the one plate this year, our champion from last year. Where do you roll off today?
I roll off P6. So.
And kind of talk me through how you ended up there.
Yeah, so it's been my first time here. I didn't come last year. I showed up at King of the Castle, so the second race on the series. So yeah, I just struggled a bit to get used to the track. I had some good pace in practice, and then seemed to lose a little bit near the end of yesterday. So we made some changes overnight, but I don't think we're going to be able to see anything because of how wet and damp the track looks and how cold it is now. So I'm pretty much just taking this session to break in the engine, and yeah, hopefully the changes work in the final, but we can only see during the race. So,
well, good luck.
Thank you.
Interesting out of Blake Nash, right? Coming in with a number 1 plate, and it probably hasn't been the return to the class like he would have wanted. Again, a new track, conditions have been very, very tricky. But I think going a little bit back to the topic of conversation last weekend, right? Blake was by far, I think, the fastest on the Friday, qualified on the pole. The weekend progresses, and I look back a lot to my pre-race interview with him before the main event on Sunday, Kyle, and you know, we talk a lot. I mean, he has wins in 125cc, but it's in OKN, and he's wanted to win in 125cc, and we'll touch on more on that. We'll touch a little bit more on that. One of the drivers who did win last weekend over at Trackhouse Motorplex at his house, Paulie Massimino, standing by with Cameron.
All the drivers have mentioned the weather changes now are a little bit miserable for us, so I won't keep you long. Going into the final today, how are you feeling?
Yeah, not too bad. I felt like in the second moto we kind of missed out on some speed. Unfortunately, we didn't really get the first moto to test what we tried, so we kind of just left it the same, and I don't think it was the best. So tried something a little different this morning, but with it drizzling out a little bit, being cold, who knows what will happen.
Well, where do you start today in the main?
I think 5th.
And how are you feeling going into that? Are you pretty confident?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I think we just got to get away on the start, and we got a bunch of laps to try and make up some ground.
Well, good luck today.
Thank you.
Well, there you guys had from Paulie Massimino, and that's a driver. You know, you see him walking through with a lot of confidence, right? And when you talk a little about Blake Nash, last weekend, you know, in that pre-race interview, he said, look, it's time to get it done. I've been in this position, and I want to win in that X30 package specifically. And coming back to this, it's a boost of confidence for him, but potentially not the start to the weekend he would have wanted. He crossed the line backwards in that first moto, Kyle, and he's coming in starting 6th. You saw the graphic there that, again, for them, both to the number 1 plate starting 6th, Paulie's on a hot streak. We talk about that new face in American karting. We talk about now Blake Nash, what do you do as a reigning champion to work your way to the front of the field?
Yeah, you know, it's the first time we've seen Blake Nash as reigning champion, but, you know, look, he talked about having some woes this week and it being the first time he's actually raced here, because I mean, I even forgot that he won the championship with a drop of 0 from the first round. So he did it last year, and this year, even if he does have a iffy race, remember, he started the year last year with 0 points.
Yep.
With his drop, just straight up best 3 races, and still won the title. So I don't think it's anything to fret about yet, but yeah, not the weekend he was looking for. And, you know, Paulie Massimino, you're absolutely correct. I mean, Paulie's I think we talked about this the other day, as one of the last guys from when I started working here 5 years ago that is still racing, and he's kind of just leveled up each year, and now he's at the point where he is kind of the new face, the new guy to beat. And I think that win he had against Joe Turney last year, Road America, from that point on, he was creeping up before that, but that point on, he just now has the confidence that he can beat anybody, anytime, anywhere.
And you see it in the driving, right? We've talked a lot about this year of a different Paulie Massimino. And speaking of Brandon Jarsky, you talked about how different it was and him leading the operation with, I don't know if you've been into the garages yet, Kyle, and walked over to see that BJR crew, but they are packed from door to door to again have that many drivers under the tent, and then coming in here this weekend to coach as many as he is and to lead that operation the way he is definitely a sight to see. But Kyle, and as Cameron gets set to rejoin us, it is officially time to pick them here in OKN and in our pro classes. Look, this has been a weekend where we talk a lot about the rookies, where we talk a lot about the returning faces, where we talk a lot about the start of a new year in 2026. And this is the first round of the Stars Championship Series Championship here at the Queen City Gambit. Kyle, we'll go to the end of the table and we'll work our way down to myself. Time to pick them.
Listen, this weekend, all we've talked about is the rookies. I've been so good all season, really. You know, we talked about Isaac Malkut. He's not racing in 125 this weekend, but he's a rookie overall. We'll see him back at some points in the season. You know, Eric Doan, and we got 3 starting in the top 2 rows. Eric Doan, Max Christia, and John Antonino Antonino and Christia making debuts this weekend. Look, my pick's very simple. I want to go for one of the new kids. I think it's round 1 to start the season. I really want to see one of the rookies kind of break out and get that first win. So I'm picking Eric Doan. I think the kid has been driving well beyond his years, and honestly, I just think it's going to be time. I mean, look, the kid's from Elk Grove, California, same place as Joey Hand was from, but also the same place that Kyle Larson's from, and we're at a NASCAR track. I think it'll happen.
Cameron?
Well, look, that's hard to follow up, right? But for me, I have to go with a veteran of the sport, somebody who continues to prove themselves time and time again, no matter the track, the motor package, the conditions. We just talked to him. Paulie Massimino is my pick. Look, he might be starting a little bit deeper in the field, but we know that he can drive through. He's proven it last weekend, coming off a big win there. For me, it seals the deal. Paulie Massimino.
Well, there you guys have it from Cameron. Look, when we're done with our broadcast, I always like to go and walk around the paddock and talk a lot to the drivers that we see out there. Yesterday, I was walking through it, and again, stumbled upon PSO Karting Barrel Art and stumbled upon Diego Ramos going back and watching the motos back. He was sitting there watching our broadcast, looking at it, and there's a look for those of you guys at home. He's sitting there, head in his hands, and he's a driver that was fast. He's a driver that won, but after speaking with him in depth yesterday about his career and about everything that's been going on and hearing what he told me, when it was all said and done, look, Diego Ramos is my pick, and that's because while he was fast yesterday, he was sitting there and he told me, he's like, look, I'm fast, and I can see it up in the Jumbotron here, and I know that, I'm gapping these guys on the racetrack, but I don't feel fast. I'm still sliding on the racetrack, and to me, that's what's important, right? A driver that's out in front, but a driver that's still continuing to try and improve, to try and get faster, and that's why I think Diego Ramos this weekend on the OKN, look, myself and Xander talked a lot about Diego yesterday, and we've talked about that first 125cc championship for him. He's been close here at the Stars Championship Series for almost 2 years, and it's always something at the final round. And you look back to the start of the year last year where he won on the track. It was a Brazil back-to-back for Mateus Morgado and Diego Ramos. And I think the number 3 is coming back with some redemption. He's coming back hungry to try and get that first championship. That's why Diego Ramos is my pick heading in to the main event later on today.
I think that's a great pick. I noticed straight away from Moto 2 that Diego Ramos just looked like he had rocket boosters on the thing. I mean, the first 2 laps of that Moto, he was probably a kart length behind Paulie, and it seems out of the corners he was just making up the difference. I don't know if he saved a bit of tire in Moto 1 or if they just figured out the setup, or maybe a mix of both, but that kart was flying in Moto 2.
And you look at the warm-up here. We talk about the rookies. Max Christia is up at the top. Remy Andreados, John Antonino, Eric Doan, Marian Kremers. And again, mixed conditions. There's still a lot of time to go in that main event. But look, everything's said and done. When you take a look back at the past couple years that we raced here, Kyle, what's something that stuck out to you watching the racing? I think 2 years now that we've been here, 2024 and 2025.
Well, I think both times the OKN Stars class has provided great racing here. I think you're going to see a lot of chaos, and I think the biggest part is going to be watching those starts. We've seen a few times, even yesterday, that turns 1 and 2. It's a short front straightaway, so the run up to the first corner is, everyone's still packed together, and it's tight quarters racing through turns 1 and 2, and that's where you got to look for is the starts, and then throughout, I think the first couple laps before you start tire saving, I think people are going to be trying to vie for the top spot and kind of figure out where they're going to be throughout the race.
Cameron, I know you haven't been with us, for the first 2 years that we have been here, but this weekend, watching the motos, watching the practices, watching the qualifying, what have you seen, and what have you seen about the raceability of this racetrack, specifically in OKN?
Yeah, it's what we touched on a little bit earlier. With the track being so high speed and roll speed being so important, we do see some of those drivers start to break away once some battling starts to happen between second, third, and even fourth place there. And so I think what's going to be most crucial for somebody who wants to win this race is holding on to that leader as much as they can, right? Not getting into too much of a scuffle with second or third, because it becomes easy for the leader to drive away. And we saw that with many different motor packages, including that Briggs & Stratton that I personally raced here. And so I think that's the biggest thing for OKN, is going to be holding that leader and not letting them get away.
Look, we've talked a lot about conditions. We've talked a lot about everything that has to do with this track here in Charlotte. To me, outside of everything, outside of the win, outside of all of that, what's most important to me is for these drivers to put themselves in a position when 147 days in the future, when we go an hour up the road to Trackhouse Motorplex, when we go to the night fight, that you put yourself in a position to be able to fight for this championship. And I think that's what's important for Diego Ramos today. I think that's what's important for Blake Nash to try and go back-to-back here this year. That's important for Paulie Massimino to look to regain that title that he was able to win in 2024. And there's a lot of drivers that, again, it all starts here. And we talk year after year about these championships. This first round is more important than we all really know, because more often than not, it's decided by maybe those motos of how close this championship has been year after year. I look back to 2024, Nicholas Terlecki, Diego Ramos, again, couldn't even get out for one of the motos, and that put him out of contention. And then Ramos not being able to pass Paulie in that main event. They were 1-2 at the end of it. And then you look back to the first year in 2023, Kyle. We ended at the Clash at the Club. Brandon Carr, Henry Wheeler, last lap, last pass. And that's what decided the championship. OKN has been close year in, year out, and it all starts here because in 147 days' time, it all ends. And you need to put yourself in a position today to win that championship at the end and to win the race and to come out with a good set of points.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I think everyone forgets last year, round 3, to your point of how important it is just to start the motos, to get those points. James Overbeck was the points leader at round 3 in Quaker last year until he was not able to start the main due to a mechanical. And then that ultimately just dropped him out of the championship. So it's important from day one to get it right. But like I said, Blake Nash started this with a 0, but that's how competitive it is. Even Blake Nash, who wasn't here in the first round, was able to secure enough points in just 3 races to make it happen.
Consistency.
So imagine if he was here for round 1 last year, we probably wouldn't even had a championship fight. So you have to be on it every round, every session here.
Yeah, and starting off a new championship, round 1, it sets the pace for the rest of the year, right? These drivers are running multiple series. This is not the only thing they're running. And so being up front, being a championship points leader after weekend 1, they're going to come into weekend 2 giving it their all, right? Because they want to win a championship. And so running different series, ultimately, whatever you're highest up in is what you're going to put the most time and effort into. And it all starts here, setting the pace for the rest of the year.
And that's one of the things that we don't, I think, touch on, much or I would say enough, because, again, with these drivers doing 3 different championships, right? The big 3, the SCUSA Pro Tour, goodness gracious, the United States Pro Kart Series, the Stars Championship Series. Look, it's a fresh start, and yes, you have memory from that, but it gives you a new perspective coming into something different, coming into something new, because it's a new opportunity, right? Something different, a different engine package like we talked about, but again, building momentum from what you learned, whether it's chassis development, whether it's driving, so on and so forth, racing against your competitors, and that's what it is. And when we focus and shift gears, literally, into the shifter karts, you talk about momentum from what we've seen last week at Trackhouse Motorplex for the United States Pro Kart Series. 2 to 3 weeks ago in the desert in Tucson, Arizona for the start of the SCUSA Pro Tour, the conversation has been all about Velocity Racing Sodi. Mateus Morgado won in Tucson. Adrian Reneden won at Trackhouse, and nobody yet has shown signs of dethroning them this year, but both of them are buried in the field today. So if you're watching on from home, both of them are going to be starting further back. Mateus Morgado, number 1 plate, starting 6th, DNF, Moto 1. Adrian Reneden starting, I believe, either it's 5th or 7th, I think, with a DNF in Moto 2 with a flat tire. The Frenchman, the Brazilian. Again, those two have played nice all year. I was hoping coming into this weekend that we'd finally see a head-to-head battle in between both of the Sodis, because we haven't seen that yet. We know how strong that package has been over the last couple of years. But today, it's AJ Myers, the Magic Man, against the rest of the field, Kyle. But that being said, we'll shift on and talk a little bit more towards the latter half of the session. Let's go ahead and pick our drivers to take the win here today. Again, we talked about AJ Myers starting on the pole, but Kyle, it's officially time to pick him here in Shifter.
Yeah, I mean, I had to think a lot about these picks. And I'm honestly not a person who likes to pick the pole sitter and the guy that I think is probably going to win, because I just think that's boring. Put a lot of thought into this. Until I'm proven otherwise, I don't think AJ or Morgado are going to make it through the whole race without battling. I'm not saying they're going to crash, but I'm just saying kind of battling with each other and letting someone else through, right? So I had to pick Adrian Reneden, because Super Reneden has been on one at track. Yeah, that nickname's a thing, by the way. Thank Jason behind the camera.
I saw the edit.
But yeah, he's just been unstoppable, and look, last year during Stars, this was his strongest series. He won in Newcastle, and he won at Quaker. I think he's going to be the one to prevail, and until I'm proven otherwise, I think Morgado and AJ might just start battling, and maybe Adrian will just slip on by, and I think if Adrian has clean track, he'll just be gone. But AJ is very impressive on that chassis that's still from Tucson.
Yeah, for me, look, it's extremely impressive and cool to watch to have all of this overseas talent come in, world champion talent come into our U.S. series here and put up a great showing time and time again. But for me, I've got to go with the U.S. champion, AJ Myers. What a weekend it has been for him. We know this is going to be a huge win if he's able to pull it off for the whole entire Magic team and the family, right? And so for me, it's an easy AJ Myers pick.
Well, look, yesterday for my pick maybe wasn't the best of days, but this year, and I even look back to last year, right, making the move on World Championship weekend, didn't finish. Look, Mateus Morgado is undeniably fast. He showed that in Tucson on the long run pace, carving his way through the field. He's shown that, in specks of brilliance yesterday in Moto 2. But Velocity Racing Sodi has been absolutely undeniable this year in 2026, and I think Mateus Morgado in that Sodi package are a match made in heaven. He was fast in a Burrell, and for 2 years in a row, I must remind everybody at home, Burrell has won here. Jay Irwin won back in 2024. Mateus won last year in 2025. But look, yes, that package is good. Jay Irwin is I think, too buried in this field to work his way through, and that's why I think Mateus Morgado starting 6th, he is undeniably fast, world champion in his own right, and I think that's why Mateus Morgado is my pick today going into the main event. You heard it, Adrian Renaudin, AJ Myers, and Mateus Morgado for myself. We'd like to know who you think is going to win the main event later on today, but 3 minutes left in this session. We talked about my pick, Mateus Morgado. It's going to be a struggle for him. He's starting back in 6th, the number 1 plate looking to go back-to-back this weekend. Kyle, we talked about it. This place may be a little bit more difficult to pass than others, but we have seen some lunges made here this weekend, and especially in the note, new MG Yellows going on these karts.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier in the show. I think yesterday at the start of Moto 1, we saw the glimpse of what this race would have been if not for, Morgado had troubles and, maybe Jay Irwin didn't have troubles. It probably would have been Morgado versus AJ once again at the front, but Morgado starting 6th, he's not going to be up there right away, so it's going to be a game of AJ having to take off, get as big of a gap as he can, hopefully, and Morgado is just going to have to put his head down and catch him, which is going to be interesting. He's going to have to just try and get by everyone as quick as he can, and I think that's all going to happen in turn 1 too, which is also going to be a part of the excitement.
Cameron?
Yeah, and I think that was also a crucial part and why I went with AJ Myers, right, is Morgado is buried in this field, and he's going to have to come through in a group of extremely stout drivers. It's not going to be easy for him to get through these guys on a track like this that's so high speed. We don't really have hairpins where he can send it in deep. It takes more planning and more precise. Not that he can't do it. He's a world champion. He absolutely can. But I think by that time, AJ is going to be long gone and have his ship sailed.
Well, look, again, we saw Jay Irwin there on screen, and I want to touch on a little bit about Jay. Yesterday, we saw the incident with himself and AJ Myers, and I spoke to his mechanic as well late in the day yesterday when I was under the PSL banner, just a little bit chatting with Diego Ramos and a couple of others, and his mechanic Sylvian was telling me 2 bent front tie rods destroyed. He had to fix a kingpin that he had to replace as well, a steering shaft that he had to replace, and it's almost a brand new front end on that PSO karting Barrel Art, and he's the fastest out there on the racetrack right now. All weekend long, when I've spoken to Jay, he's been struggling, trying to get the rear planted. He says the rear's sliding out a little bit on him, and we talked about turn number 10 being a struggle spot. Turn number 1 was also another one of the struggle spots, and when you talk about Jay, he's a proven race winner here. This is really where he broke through in 2024 when the Pro Show looked slightly different with a little bit less practice, and he was able to fully get himself into the limelight here in Charlotte. Last year, maybe didn't go the way that he would have wanted with Mateus joining Stars here, but this year, Jay, it's a little bit of added pressure as well. We talked about Mateus moving a lot, but that's also, a lot has fallen into the lap of Jay Irwin this year because it's an added pressure to lead that operation, an operation that's been successful with the likes of Marian Kremers, who's a world champion, with the likes of Mateus Morgado, who won a SCUSA Pro Tour championship in his first time of asking at the SCUSA Pro Tour. You look back to that was in 2024, Kyle, and now Jay Irwin, a young kid from New Zealand, he's in a cart every single weekend, banging laps, pounding laps, and working as hard as he can. But it's different. It's not hard to have that pressure in leading an operation as successful as Burrell Art has been.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even put into words the history of PSL karting and North American karting, right? I mean, you go all the way back to the CRG days. PSL has been in this paddock in pretty much the same structure for a number of years, and to be the guy now that is leading that team, nobody ahead of him really in shifter, that's ahead of him. That's a lot of pressure for a 17-year-old kid. We forget sometimes of how well he drives. I was surprised by it earlier this year that he's still 17. Just how young he started in shifter. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's been able to do and the pressure that he's under.
Cameron, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's done a fantastic job at leading this program, and he continues to put the chassis up front time and time again. So I think you really have to give it to him, right? Like, he is dedicated to growing that program. But as you see here, we have wrapped up our Pro Stars warm-up, and AJ Myers leads us off, starting from the pole position and quickest in warm-up as we head into the final today.
Look, a little look back to last year, and I joked around with AJ as well, and I was like, look, man, topic of conversation in 2025 was long run pace. Do you have it? And he was like, I know, ChatGPT helped us out a little bit. They were asking for a sponsorship there. But that being said, look, we are moments away from getting into the racing action. The B main getting set to go out for K Seniors. Kyle, closing thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's going to be just an unbelievable day of racing so far. Look, I'm excited. 38 days away from the NASCAR Cup Series being here, but today is our day. We're going to be going through the entire pro show. It's going to be incredible. I think you can't deny that SOTY package, and it's going to be interesting to see if by the end of the race, if AJ Myers can keep that pace. But that warm-up was interesting. AJ Myers, P1, Mateus Morgado, P2. Those two together within a hundredth of a second. Who would have thought?
Anything to add, Cameron?
No, I think it's going to be a super exciting day in all of the classes, right? Even down to our youngest drivers. They've all been putting on a show here in Charlotte. It's going to be a good one to watch. Stay tuned.
For those of you at home, this championship is 147 days long. The first main event of the year is right here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It ends an hour up the road at Trackhouse Motorplex when we go to the night fight. Look, put yourself in a position to be in the championship conversation in 147 days' time. That's the goal for everybody that's here this weekend. Look, it is cold. It has been a little bit rainy, a little bit windy, but the action on the racetrack is about to warm up. The Perico Pit Box, it's been an absolute pleasure to be back to start off the Stars Championship Series. For myself, Caleb Vieska, from Kyle Cuthbertson, from Cameron Reed, this has been Kart Chasers pre-race coverage of the first round of the Stars Championship Series. Stay glued to your TV. We're getting set to go racing.
Hey guys, another Kart Chaser Driver Fitness episode with me, Chris G. Today, I'm going to show you how to protect those ribs in the seat. We're doing core. Exercise number 1 is the bench leg raise. Controlled all the way down, full range of motion. Make sure you pick up that tailbone off the pad. Coming down, controlling. Great for the lower abdomen area and obliques. Floor slider mountain climbers, exercise number 2. Exercise number 3, the plate-loaded decline bench sit-up. I'll see you guys on the next episode of Chris G Coaching, race-ready training that carries into real life. That's what we do.
Hi, I'm Jackson with Alpha Race Hub. Alpha is an all-in-one motorsports software solution that can solve all the software problems you need for your track, facility, or series. Alpha can cover all your software bases, from online registration, digital e-waivers, a proprietary timing and scoring software, incident management, automated points tabulation, tire and barcode scanning. We even have our own mobile timing app and rental kart activity management software. If you're looking to consolidate your motorsports software solutions, reach out to us at alphatiming.co.uk.
Let's go race.
Come on, man.
You know, I'm really starting to like this go-karting thing.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh, can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayKara.com. At ShopPayKara.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want, like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need, all at ShopPayKara.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Karting isn't just speed. It's control, precision, freedom. At Atlanta Motorsport Park, Kart Freedom isn't just a team. It's where drivers are made.
Welcome to the future of kart race preparation. Kart Sim Pro North America. Featuring laser-scanned North American kart circuits and precision-tuned kart physics developed using real telemetry, dyno and tyre data, Kart Sim Pro North America delivers the most advanced and realistic kart simulation experience available today. Whether you're training for race day, refining your lines, or shaving tenths off your personal best, Kart Sim Pro gives you pro-level insight without leaving your home. Trusted by world champions, coaches, and karting enthusiasts alike, this is where virtual practice translates into real-world performance. Experience the thrill, the challenge, and the edge. Kart Sim Pro North America. Use code CHASER20 to get 20% off today.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.